All right, let's go. There's so much to talk about that I wrote things down. Maybe I'm just getting old. This is the DYU King 750 from DYU, and it's a fat tire bike. A couple of bullet points. It has a Samsung 20 amp hour 48 volt battery, massive. And in the rear, it's a 750 watt motor. It goes up to about 1000 watts, so there's no lack in power. It's a massive bike. It weighs about 42 kilograms. It came in this massive cardboard box, and as usual, it's really well protected. I had to take all the foam out, I assembled it. It took no more than 20 minutes, and we got this. Now, the first thing I decided to do was to take this out for a range test, and boy, did I learn a lot about the bike. I came a total of 60 kilometers. Now, I did that doing 36 kilometers an hour average speed, which is insane. It was about 0 degrees Celsius outside and a slight wind. Not optimal conditions. And it managed, with a 48 volt 20 amp hour battery, it managed to do 60 kilometers. That's really freaking impressive if you ask me. Also, I like going those higher speeds, even though I was only in pass 2. There's pass 1, 2, and 3, basically the speed modes. And I was in second, which means I could have gone way faster. About 48 kilometers an hour seems to be the top speed of this bike. And pass 1 is about legal speed limit at 25 kilometers an hour. So I went past 2, 36 kilometers an hour, felt great. All right, let's start off with the good things and then jump over to some of the things I didn't like about the bike. Now, the number one thing I liked about the bike, and it's a luxury item at this point, is the mudguards. If you watch older reviews of the King 750, the reviewers, they don't have mudguards. So at some point they started to ship with mudguards, which is great. Now they're even plastic, so it's low noise, and in my opinion, I think it looks really good. If you come closer, you can see the 180 millimeter hydraulic brakes, and they're insane. I did some brake tests, and Jesus Christ, they bite. You can brake in just meters. I've never really felt as powerful brakes on any e-bike, considering the weight too. It's 42 kilograms. Really impressed by the brakes. Now, something else I wanted to cover, and this is kind of a hot topic. It's the bell. It's a manual bell that you ring. Now, some of the e-bikes, most of the e-bikes, come with this digital buzzer, and people don't react to it. They don't understand that it's a scooter or an e-bike that's behind them. They don't recognize it. But this, everyone recognizes, and honestly, I've kind of prefer the manual bell. Now, if you come over to this side, you can see the rubber ring around the charge port, and that's really important for one reason and one reason only. On the Engway X26 I've had, the mud and the rain from the rear tire splashes up on the charge port. I actually had to do some MacGyvering and resolder the entire charge port and put it on the opposite side of the seat post. And now it works. I just want to really quickly mention the suspension. You have the front shock absorbers that's adjustable, you can lock them, that's all great. You have no suspension in the rear. The tires are one form of suspension, they do help. But however, you do have one suspension in the seat post itself, and it works really well on asphalt. But once you go in potholes or whatever it might be, you bottom out all the time. And I'm just 77 kilograms and I bottom out on it. So if you're lighter than me, it might not be a problem. But if you're heavier, you feel it bottom out constantly, and it's quite frustrating actually. Now, the final thing that I'm going to mention about this bike that I really liked is how affordable it is. How much bike you're getting for your money, and this is what really sells it. Now, you're getting a 48 volt 20 amp hour battery. That's almost 1 kilowatt hour of battery. It's massive for an e-bike. You're getting a massive 750 watt motor, but only in one particular place. If you go on their website, people in the USA can buy this bike for $1,000. Which is a really competitive price. But if you go to Europe, here it costs almost 1,500 euros. But still, 1,500 euros, you're getting fat tires, massive battery, a good motor. With all that being said, I'm just gonna jump right into my biggest issue with this bike. And it has to do with, a lack of a better word, how dumb it is. There are 3 speed modes, 1, 2, and 3. You expect speed mode 1 to be quite gentle and not go as fast. Now, in speed mode 1, it provides 100% throttle from this motor and rockets you up to 25 kilometers an hour. That's the slowest speed setting available on this bike. Now before you ask, yes, there is a twist throttle, that's great. But the problem is that you won't be able to keep, let's say 20 kilometers an hour actively using the twist throttle. It doesn't matter how smooth the road is. You're gonna drift once you start using the twist throttles. You expect there to be modes that have set power outputs or speed modes. Now here's something else I shot on the GoPro that I wanted to share, and it's related to how unsmooth and jerky the riding experience is. Well, here's something I can't stand with this bike. It's very jerky, it's not very smooth. And I can show you right now. I'm in pass 1, which should take us up to about 26 kilometers an hour. Now, it does that very quickly, but then it all of a sudden stops very rapidly. Now, let me turn around and I'll show you. Alright, so we're going 8 kilometers an hour. Let me speed up and you'll see how it very quickly stops once we reach 26 kilometers an hour. Okay, 20, 21, it's accelerating very rapidly. 25 and then it stops. And then it kicks back in. Then it stops and then it kicks back in. Maybe you can't tell from the camera, but it is very jerky. Can you hear how the motor keeps kicking in? It's so weird. And there is supposed to be a torque sensor. It doesn't work. That's a type of sensor that reads off how hard you're pedaling and adjusts the power output to the motor in regards to how hard you're pedaling. And so that should really fix the issue at hand. But as I said, it doesn't work. It just applies 100% throttle no matter how slow I'm pedaling. And again, you can do absolutely no adjustments on the display. No settings can be changed whatsoever. Hey, Simon from the future, just wanted to quickly explain what I mean by there not being any settings whatsoever to adjust or change on this display. There are no buttons whatsoever other than the 3 you have on the handlebars. And the top one, all it does is change the pass mode. And the middle one is the power, that's just to turn on and off the bike. And the bottom one is to lower the pass. Now you can hold the plus button to activate the lamp, the headlight, but that's it. And there's also a small indication showing that it's active. Now the only thing you see from this is how far you have gone. I did 60 kilometers, that was the range of this bike. The battery, that's actually a pretty good battery meter. And the power, but it shows the wrong wattage. It only goes up to about 96 watts. But I think they missed the 0, so it's supposed to be 960. Yeah, that's a little weird. A trip meter and which pass, basically speed mode you're in, and well, the speed in kilometers an hour. That's it. Now, apart from all this, here are some things that I just wasn't a big fan of. Now, the handlebars are too narrow. They are significantly more narrow than on most e-bikes that I've ever tested. I'm not a big fan. There's no rear brake light or light whatsoever. It's just a reflector. That's forgivable. Now here's something almost all e-bikes of this kind suffers from, and it's not enough. That was so cringe. I'm not even sure I'm gonna keep that in the video. Looks like it landed on the shifter and it's absolutely demolished. God damn. Not enough gears. That's something most bikes on the cheaper part of the spectrum suffers from. And what I mean by that is because they can go 45 kilometers an hour, once you reach 35, you want to jump over to 8th, maybe 9th gear. But most of these bikes are limited to 7 gear Shimano. And what happens is that you feel like you're ghost pedaling. This one included only has 7 gears, enough 95% of the time, but once you go downhill and you want to keep the speed up, you don't have that 8th or 9th gear. That can be really annoying. When it comes to the tires and the robustness of the frame, I think it checks out. It looks really good. The welt looks good as well. The paint job I really like. The matte black is awesome. Now, something else I know a lot of people will appreciate is that you can very easily just oh, there's another latch here. Oh, there we go. That's a big chunky battery. You can take it out, which I know a lot of people will appreciate, especially if you live in an apartment. You don't want to take the bike up all the time to your apartment. You can take the battery up and charge it. And it is indeed a 48 volt, 20 amp hour battery, yes. All right, that's my review of the King 750 from DYU. I hope you got more information now than when you came into the video. And please don't mention my drop of the bike in the comments, okay?